Well, thank you everybody for coming. I know you're all thinking, how did these three guys get this lucky, right? To be the last presentation of the day on the Wednesday before the party. So I don't know if somebody can tell me. I'd love to hear how we ended up winning this lottery, but we're excited. We're here this year to talk again about practical digital twins, our experiences with it, and trying to make it real for everybody. These are the things that we actually have seen in the real world, some of the bumps and bruises that we've experienced, and we're just here to share. So my name is Kyle Lindsay, Director of Innovation at Worldwide Technology. So I, along with my partners, lead innovation at Worldwide. And what does innovation mean? It's just the cool stuff. Robots come up, computer vision comes up, digital twins, metahumans, they come to us. We're kind of the crazy people that will, as my boss likes to joke, naked and afraid. You know what? Something crazy comes up, we'll jump in and do it.
Yeah.
It's a fun place to be.
Yeah. My name is Brett Martin. Me and Mauricio Espin co-founded Another Reality Studio in 2013 and have been working on very similar projects, all based in Unreal Engine since way back when. R&D, innovation projects, trying to make cool stuff happen. A lot of that is on the business enterprise side. So we've explored a lot of AR, VR, digital twins, immersive technologies, real-time applications, how we hook in actual people's data. And so that led to a relationship with Worldwide about 3 years ago and have just been loving the action. You know, we've got a lot of fun projects and we'll get to talk about one today. And we have a friend here.
Yeah, so hi everybody. I'm Jeremy Tripp. I'm the Director of Digital Experience for MLS's St. Louis City SC. And I can't wait to tell you why in the world I'm here, but my job is responsible for a lot of the technology that we put in our stadium. We're responsible for our mobile app. City is very well known for being tech forward. We're a very brand new franchise. We've only been in the league for 3 years, and we'll get into some of that momentarily. But just really excited to be here, and I, like Kyle mentioned, very happy that you all decided to join us for the last session of the day.
How many people have heard of St. Louis SC, the new soccer team? Yeah,
nice.
It's awesome.
MLS fans.
Yep.
Let's go.
So our agenda for today, you know what? We're going to keep it light. We're not going to just dump on you guys for the last presentation of the day. We're going to recap a little bit of what we talked about last year. We had a similar kind of a part one last year. And really what we want to dig into what we're just calling the 3 pillars of execution. What does it take that we see to build digital twins, specifically in sports, in enterprise? Like, what is it in the real world? We have Jeremy's case study, which is exciting. We've got a very, very cool demo for everybody. And then how do we take these 3 pillars and merge it all together? How do we put it all together at the end of the day for a successful digital twin? So last year, we focused in on feasibility, kind of experimentation, really took it not only from a technical level, like what does it take from a tech stack between Unreal Engine all the way through, but also the stakeholders, the governance, all of those other important components. And really, it's the real world integration. Like, what does it look like in the real world? So Brad, your quiz, how did we describe digital twins last year?
Yeah, so last year we got to highlight a couple of things that make a 3D model into a digital twin. And we talked about them being geospatially anchored, having a representation of its actual context and kind of how you utilize the data of the surrounding. We talked about integrating different operations, whether that's IoT devices, utility devices, some of the synthetic data, which I know today's been pretty heavy on simulation. So you guys have luckily already got to hear all the talks around those, so it won't go in too deep on that. And then also that spatial cognition. So how do these things all relate together? And then how do we, with that real-time connection, how do we do things in the real world and kind of make that more operative?
So this was one that we highlighted last year, right? This is Hampton University. It's a historically black college that we have partnered with for several years. So we've done a lot of, part of what we do at WWT is cloud and data center and infrastructure. And so we do a lot of that. And what they were looking to do was a full-scale campus Wi-Fi build-out, right? They needed to do a full implementation of an upgrade for their Wi-Fi infrastructure. And as part of that, they wanted to lean heavily into a digital twin. The purpose for that is they knew they could get two benefits out of this, right? They could leverage this digital twin for marketing, for new student acquisition, as well as the operational aspect of designing the Wi-Fi network. So this was a great example that we just talked about last year of like, how do you actually build a business model, multiple kind of operations, marketing use cases around a digital twin. So that was 150 drone LiDAR runs. I think it was 3 weeks of, I think we used the BLK to go handheld scanner interior of all of the buildings. So it was a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's really helpful to remember as we're going through this that every one-off project, prototype, proof of concept that we complete can add to the larger of the digital twin. And so using that as GIS data or these LiDAR scans to get the context there of what we talked about before is really important. And going into another project that we talked about last year was a very large entertainment space with over 300,000 light fixtures that we had hooked into DMX control. And one of the main challenges was not being able to visualize the light shows, the efficiency of those lights, what should be turned off or on at any given time in real space context based off actual usage. So being able to showcase that and design in a space that wasn't even built yet before you could see it was extremely important. So we highlighted a couple of tools that we used through Unreal Engine that made that possible. From the BIM files, convert into Datasmith to blueprinting and automating scripts to replace files, all the way down to live linking to construction documents so that we stay accurate, because it was very always changing project, as most of you guys, if you've done an architecture project, are probably laughing. But
I think it was, at the time, one of the largest lighting pre-visualization utilizations of Unreal Engine from a simulation that had ever been done at that time from scale. And this is prior to megalights.
Yeah, we'll take that accolade. I'm not positive on it, but we'll definitely take it. But yeah, it was prior to megalights. Literally right after we delivered it was Unreal Fest last year when they announced megalights, and we were like, oh, that saves us some time. But anyways, we did overcome some obstacles through this. One major one that we talked about last time, which we'll kind of highlight today, but this is a really good context for it, is the metadata that's coming in from these files and how to automate scripts that retains that metadata or IDs for different lights to connect to DMX and gets them into the right position in Unreal Engine. So you take a shot of that. Since we talked about it last year, I won't talk about it this year so much, but that was a massive obstacle that we overcame in the past year's project. But now we'll go on to the 3 pillars of what we're finding in a real life project again with Jeremy. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with the virtual planning and simulation, and I'm going to lead into some projects that we had from the beginning, digital twin, and then kind of get into some of Jeremy's side on the setup and integration, but you guys feel free to jump in as we go.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I got a couple of videos that I'm hoping to play here. There we go. So those are going to play as I talk. But one of the main things that a tool that we developed since 2019 is called Looking Glass. It's a digital twin platform that allows you to start to integrate in many different features. I'm going to hit 3 different areas of what we've developed out and kind of how they communicate and talk together. The first one, of course, is being able to connect directly into BIM models. So we have plugins that we have created for many architectural platforms and programs that help pull that data into Unreal Engine. And then we have developed a signaling plugin as well for Unreal Engine that helps to connect all the authentications, the user profiles, the permissions, what files they're trying to see at that time, and so on. So what we're kind of calling out here is that base of a digital twin, and kind of that starting point is you want to federate BIM model. What that means is generally on an architecture project, you have many subs. And one of the challenges that we have found in working with these different subs is that nobody wants to share their files because it holds their IP or their trade secrets. I see some nods, so I guess you guys are there. One thing that we were able to use the power of Unreal with, along with this backend that we've created in Looking Glass and signaling over to runtime uploads, is you can protect the IP and metadata behind permissions and profiles, but runtime import them into the same file, and then whether that's pixel streamed or a downloaded file, you can start to see them together. So this is the real-time versions of federating those BIM models. That becomes extremely useful, not only on the planning side where you can do clash detection, kind of make sure that all of the utilities are going to work together, but also can kind of start to see what other simulations and challenges you want to test before getting into the field and building. So a couple of points here as we go through is starting with 4D construction on those files as well. After you have the design ready and you're ready to go on site, who gets there first? Who gets the crane first? Who gets the position first? So we've estimated with some of our clients that we've been working on these projects over the past 6 years about a 12 to 14% cost savings on change order and addenda, which a total project is about 14 to 18% change order and addenda costs on a commercial project. So very helpful when pitching those ROIs to why you should start a digital twin on a project that early. The other one is being able to do automation on some of those files. So as I mentioned before, BIM data has the metadata within it, oftentimes, depending on who you're working with, of course. But one thing that I want to highlight on this one, I'm sorry, the videos aren't playing there. There we go. Is that every single project that you're going to get is going to be different. So although a platform can be helpful to get in things quickly into Unreal Engine, generally you're going to have some manual work to automate these to create through these processes even after the automation. So one thing that we've created is for issue tracking. In that bottom video, what you're seeing is clash detection. It's circling where the utilities would be interacting with each other or causing a collision, an intersection that is we want to call out so that they can either turn it into an issue to track and finish, or they can approve it as something that is meant to be that way. And then, of course, because of the file coming in with the metadata, in the top video, you'll see that you can swap different meshes. You can automate in different blueprints to replace those, as you saw the doors kind of opened on their own for that, or different material changes.
I'm just curious, how many people work with Unreal within AEC? Yeah, see, that's what I thought. It's definitely a lot.
Yeah. And then finally, of course, now that you've done this beautiful build and you have everything working and they're ready to kind of push and go do the groundbreaking, you can really use this for a phenomenal sales tool. I'm showing two different portions. One within the platform you can do lots, kind of draw out lots and then assign homes to different ones. That helps for the site planning, but also for people being able to see what homes are available on each lot type. And then, of course, in the bottom, being able to walk through each of those homes individually and do any customizations that are allowed, whether that's a spec build or a fully custom build. And just how dynamic Unreal is, I don't have to tell you guys. You guys are here, so from a lighting standpoint all the way through to being able to throw this into virtual reality or pixel streaming. It's all extremely beneficial in this field. But we'll get into the fun stuff now, which is some of this stuff that we want to kind of start discussing in this talk, which is the ability that after you do that construction and you've started your digital twin and the as-builts are in and modified and you've done the scan of the surroundings, you can now start to operate your facility in real time and make data-driven decisions, which has crossed into many of our projects from manufacturing to residential and commercial and just the efficiencies of that, all the way through to sports and entertainment. So some of these are more ideas and concepts here that we're talking through. We've done a few of these with as we kind of go through this, but the one that we're really highlighting today and that we really want to talk about goes with Energizer Park. And I'm gonna show a quick video and then let Jeremy talk about Energizer Park and its beginning, and then we'll eventually show that demo coming through. So we'll just show a quick snippet of if it goes.
And we have a booth. We're showing this actually at the booth in live demos.
And this is where the music plays when you have music. We forgot music, so just go like this with me. So every visual board and light that you can see in this space is not only accurate to the Revit model and the model of the light fixture through scripting and placement, but it is operational through DMX and even the LED boards down to the pixel of what was spec'd for these boards.
Do you know how many individual lights is it?
Fixtures for DMX, I believe, is right around 5,000 fixtures. That doesn't include, obviously, the LEDs and bulbs, et cetera, but right around 5,000 fixtures, and there's utility lights and things in there as well.
Anybody been to St. Louis recently? Has anybody been to Energizer Park? Not many? I know my front row has, but I'm going to tell you, this looks pretty damn good. Looks pretty damn good. All right, so I'm here to tell you a little bit about City. I'm going to set it up for you and talk about how we got here, just briefly, give you that context. And then we're going to move into some of the challenges that we have in sports, specifically in soccer, and why digital twin is going to be a good choice for us to help solve some of those problems moving forward. Okay, so I didn't see any hands for people who had been to St. Louis recently. So, there was one. Okay, there's one all the time.
This weekend.
So what you're looking at right now is a picture of our stadium site about 5 years ago. Okay, St. Louis has gone through pretty challenging times over the last decade or so. We lost the Rams, left kind of a big void in our sports scene. The Cardinals have been trending down for a while, although they're doing well now. The Blues won a Stanley Cup, but then they've kind of slid down. So St. Louis as a region, not just as a sports city, has had some hard times, okay? So we're very much in the revitalization era of downtown St. Louis. So then, entered the Taylor family and Jim Kavanaugh. Jim Kavanaugh, obviously, founder and CEO of Worldwide Technology. Carolyn Kendall, there in the pink, is our owner and CEO. We have a large ownership group, the Taylor family specifically of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So these are families that understand technology. These are families that are born and bred and raised in St. Louis. They love the city of St. Louis, and they wanted to inject just massive amplification to this revitalization effort. So that's where St. Louis City comes in, okay? They took kind of a different approach to a traditional sports franchise. There's a little bit of a legacy project for them. It's not really about the dollars at City. They understand the value of technology. They toured the world looking for the best facilities in the world. And what we learned is that the best facilities often sort of feel like a stadium that came down from outer space and gets planted in downtown somewhere. And it's very unusual. It doesn't fit. So we took a very different approach. We appreciate art. We appreciate architecture. We appreciate the history of our town. We appreciate our food scene, the culture, the music, all of the above. So at City, what we're trying to build is sort of a love song to the city of St. Louis. And I hope that instead of talking to you about it, I can just show you the incredible fan experience with a quick video, if that's all right. All right, so again, we have put so much effort into this idea of fan experience, sort of turning it on its head of what traditional sports teams do. And the way we've done that is when we created our front office, we did not hire traditional sports minds, not to say that's the wrong move, but we wanted a very diverse sort of group to build our team and to build our franchise around. So we actually hired from within sports, from without sports. We hired from within St. Louis, from without St. Louis. And basically, we went out and hired experts in their fields, okay? And like my background is in in retail and e-commerce. So I came from Panera Bread before this. Food and food operations is what I knew. I didn't know anything about soccer. Okay, I've since learned. I'm doing my best. But it was an uphill battle. I had to learn the problems and the challenges myself. We also brought a product mindset to sports, which is very unusual. You don't find a lot of product managers or folks who think product oriented in sports. It's just not done. The industry is very vendor focused. You plug in a technology and it's not integrated well. Nothing talks to each other. Loyalty programs don't talk to your food systems, and your retail systems don't talk to your BI. It's just a mess. Data's a mess. It's chaos. We said, no, we're not going to do it that way. So what we did instead is we introduced sort of that modern product management mindset into every decision we make. And in one of the ways we did that was through our strategic partnerships. Okay, and this is important because this is the reason we are able to do digital twins and digital twins effectively. We choose partners who, they're just that. They're partners. They're not vendors. They don't come in and plug in their technology and leave. We choose partners who are open, who want to partner with us and build with us and create new innovative tools together. And I think we'll go to the next slide here and I'll show you what that looks like for us. Okay? If I were to show you this list from any other sports organization, I promise you it will be 5 times as big as this. And that's just the way it works. Like I said, they hire sort of mercenaries to come in, do a job, and they leave, and none of the systems work together. All of our systems work together, from our loyalty to payment to food to retail, and I've spent the last few years making that happen. It's been a monster integration effort, but now it's put us in a position to actually, I said it this way earlier, it's like we've been building a sports car for 4 years, but we've never been able to drive it. Now it's time to turn the key and kind of see how fast this thing can go. So with that, go ahead and go one more slide. Let's show off and set up some of the challenges that we face. So I told you, fan experience is everything to us. In sports, you live and die by the product on the field. Okay, that's normal, right? If your team sucks, nothing else matters. And your NPS scores are going to show it. Your ticket sales are going to show it. Your concessions revenue is going to show it. There's not a lot you can do about it. So we said, well, let's break that. Let's decouple the product on the field from the fan experience. And of course they are unified. Of course they are connected. But how far can we stretch that? So we wanted to build the best fan experience absolutely possible. Our building does not have traditional stadium concessions. It's 100% local food partners. So you've got 25 local restaurants operating within our building at any given time. Our retail is top-notch. Our music experience is top-notch. So we try to access the fan experience from this place of full sensory sort of overload in terms of what you're going to see. So part of that is getting people down early and giving them the visual cues to help drive behavior in the way that we want them to behave. So what we had kind of developed was this idea of we need a cue to get people to their seats, okay? It's pre-match, people are out, they're talking on the concourse, they're buying food, they're getting a beer, what have you. How do we let them know that it's time to go sit down? So we developed what we call Red Out, or in this case, Gateway to Hell. And basically what it means is the lights go out, the red lights come up, a specific song plays, and the scoreboards play a hype video, flames shoot up, which I think you saw in the video a moment ago, and it's an entire experience. But that is people's cue now. They've been trained sort of in a Pavlovian level to go sit down, and it's been extremely effective for us. So do you want to kind of show off what this looks like?
And it works. I go to all the games, and the second I see red, I'm going to my seat. But anyways, so I think to kind of join in with you, Jeremy, like one of the things that we really started exploring is like we started talking about digital twins. We started showing kind of where we're at. We're like, where can we start? Because again, we talked about this last year, but stakeholders, you got to get people involved. You got to get stakeholders on board with doing this. And this just was such an obvious spot for the fan engagement, for testing out these different light shows, showing ads on the boards and making sure that they look good before you make it there. And that's kind of what we're going to show today, like the solution. So as Jeremy mentioned, the challenge, I'm going to swap over to the app here. This is the downloadable version of the stadium. Okay, it looks a little brighter up there, but we'll roll with it. And we did map it to an Xbox controller just for this event because it's easier to fly around. But we now have, we are using Google Cesium as the map for this portion to start. We might do some scans for some of the current coming up projects, but we can now fly around the entire stadium and we can start to look at the different lighting effects and kind of how that's going to change based off how we want to design the light. So as I kind of zoom into this stadium here, you'll see we have one of the videos on the Jumbotron playing that is an actual video that played in the game. We have it right here. We also have some ways to control these things. So I'm just going to pop up this control panel. Depending on the time of the day, sometimes we have day games, right? You can pop it up to daytime. You guys know the dynamic lighting system, so we don't go too hard. But also how big of the shadows play an effect is something to consider, and how many lights we need on or off is something to consider. You'll see the lights up top with the drums there that we're gonna play with the most. So I'll drop it down to a nighttime game, and then we'll start kind of showing kind of what it has. So with that Gateway to Hell, we've made it easy. We can just click a button. This is what it looks like when you come in. Maybe some different logos on the screens, but this is the city red that we have, and you can see the entire scene. This doesn't, when you're there, just the feeling of this is quite impactful.
I can tell you, we did not have the digital twin when we developed this. Okay, just fully transparent. And I'll tell you, there were many late nights at the stadium because we couldn't do this during the day. So truly, it was 3 or 4 people in the booth testing things, trying things, getting cues just right. Literally there till midnight, 1 a.m., 2 in the morning, for weeks in advance, trying to nail this experience. And a digital twin could have done this in, I don't know, an hour.
Well, and then the other interesting part, and you and I kind of talked about this a little bit, is the cost of turning on all of the lights and doing light testing like on an hourly basis.
Yep.
Is
And don't forget, we're downtown, so literally light pollution is a consideration. We want to be a good neighbor to those around us in downtown. So being up at 2 a.m. shining the brightest possible red light that you possibly can. Our neighbors weren't thrilled. So yeah.
Now I'm coming through Ultra Club here as well, which is an area that again kind of participates and has these LED screens above. They're actually transparent screens, which are pretty cool. They have like little perforated space here if I get close enough. See that kind of perforation? So you can actually see through them, which is pretty cool.
I do. This is the one thing that I'm such an old school geek when it comes to Unreal Engine and real-time 3D. Just the level of fidelity that you get with these models to be able to go into individual nuts and screws and vent holes.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time. I still love it.
And this
Look,
one,
I'm discovering new use cases for this model all the time. So right now you're in this premium space, Ultra Club is what we call it, Michelob Ultra Club. And this is a rentable space for our building, right? Special events are a key revenue driver for any given stadium. So this is a space now that, using this digital twin, literally with a drop down, I can take this to my special events team and say, here's what this looks like for a wedding. Here's what it looks like for a corporate event. Here's what it looks like for, a catered event. So there's any number of use cases, and literally coming up with one every time that I play in this tool.
and just as we're talking, I'm kind of flipping through some of these ribbon boards as well. If you see this blackout in the middle, that's actually intentional for a score, and it's always left off as the kind of scoreboard if you're seeing this. But we actually, a fun one, but we're on actual ads we're working with, showcasing them and finding what might be issues. So when we see that they seam up together and wrong with the video that we've come in, they can see that now in context. They can make the modifications and change it without even having to fire up the board and
Yeah,
go
and again, this is a major problem for us where the interaction between our sponsorship group who's selling these ads with our sponsorship partners and our live experience team who are responsible for putting it up on the boards, today they literally have to take these files and go try them in the real stadium and find problems. And oftentimes there are problems, the way that the seams marry up. And this is about pixel perfect, where now we can pop in graphics, see what they look like, say, yeah, that seems pretty close, and then go try it and have a lot more success with that. And honestly, sponsors will love this kind of tool because they can see it in real life. They don't have to wait. It's not a picture. They don't have to come to the stadium. This is an incredible tool for that use case.
And I think one of our developers put in a rolling Energizer battery around the whole stadium, which is one of the ads, kind of funny. I want to see the Energizer bunny just nonstop around the whole field, right? Just the whole time. But
Yeah, I do. So going back to your point, though, Jeremy, I think that's an important one of the visualization, the sales component of it remotely,
Yeah.
right? Because you have other teams coming to play, so that ability to be able to show if they have something that they want to add, right? Something they want to market, to be able to do that when they're in Boston, New York, LA. It's a very powerful tool.
Exactly right. So you want to flip back to the presentation?
yes, thank you. I can get stuck playing with this.
Oh, I know, yeah. And I
Appreciate the
imagine-
call out.
I imagine we may come back to it, but. All right, so challenge number 2. I had some soccer fans in the room. Can anybody quickly tell me, how long is halftime? 15. Thank you, sir. That's right. And soccer is not built to sell concessions. The game itself, it's the beautiful game. It's not the Cracker Jack game. We don't change sides every 3 outs to give you a chance to go buy a beer. That's just not how it works. The clock never stops. So the traditional model is that a soccer team sells like 90% of its concessions during halftime. That's a huge problem. We literally cannot sell to the capacity that we need to during halftime. It's only 15 minutes long. The result of that, fans are standing in line, they're missing action. People do not like to miss action. So we have violently attacked this problem of halftime, meaning we have tried to get people to order early, come to the match early, extend halftime in both directions, maximize throughput in both directions. But what that results in is this problem where we had massive concourse congestion, especially in year 1. Our main concourse, we had sort of over-indexed in really popular local partners. So everybody wanted to try those on the main concourse. We weren't getting enough people upstairs. And it was just really hard to get around. And that caused safety problems. It caused medical issues when we were trying to get staff to different areas. So all kinds of problems here. We have been very successful at moving people before the game. So our model is actually that about 60% of our sales come before a ball's ever kicked. That's fantastic, and we're absolutely leaders in that space. But it took us basically 3 years to get to that point, especially with the concourse and crowd flow area issues. So, with this digital twin, I think where I want to go with this is this could have solved that problem for us so much easier and so much faster. Right? What we had to do was every year kind of play this shell game of moving restaurant partners around and trying to do more interesting things upstairs and, try to drive our marketing segments to get people upstairs and thin out that crowd. We moved portables around. We did all kinds of crowd flow management to try to extend our concourses. But the fact is, it's a physical space. And there's not always a lot you can do. So, with a digital twin, we could have simulated these crowd flows very early on, found them before this was ever an issue, and solved it before, again, we ever kicked a ball. Instead, it took us 3 years to crack the code.
Yeah, and I think one important thing that we're continue to come back to is we want data-driven decisions. We want to not do guess and checks of, okay, well, what if we move this here? So with crowd simulation, we can do that, but also we can look at the heat maps of where people are currently, most active during halftime, why we have those bottlenecks, and then start to simulate around, okay, if we make these changes, what happens, train. So anyways, just adding that in.
Yeah. All right, so challenge number 3, and then I'm gonna let Kyle talk at you for a few minutes. This is an infrastructure problem. It's a scale problem. So we don't play soccer matches but once every 2 weeks, right? It's basically every other Saturday on average. And that means in our mobile apps, specifically in our stadium, there's no one in that building most of the time for 13 straight days. And then gates hit on Saturday, 6 p.m. Saturday. We go from 0 to literally 22,500 people in our building. There are infrastructure problems. There are server scaling issues we encounter. Our app has really done a lot of work to solve this problem. But again, this is a major issue in sports, and this is another one that our digital twin could have helped us crack much sooner had we kind of started this way. But now this is going to give us a tool in our back pocket to basically simulate and monitor these kind of problems in real time, all the time, so we can keep our kind of thumb on the pulse of network issues and these big infrastructure problems, scale issues that we typically encounter. So you want to kind of dive into some of that stuff, Kyle?
Yeah, we can jump a little bit into that. So infrastructure and scale, AKA plumbing. Not the most exciting part of the solution, but probably the most important part. Without this component, it just simply doesn't work. Before I get into that, though, I've gotten this question a lot. Drew and I have worked on this for a couple of years now. How do you even get started, right? I mean, we're showing you this amazing digital twin of Energizer. We've showed you the Hampton. We showed you some other ones last year of how do we even start eating this elephant? And I just wanted to insert this because I think it's a good kind of point to take a step back and go, you know what? You got to start small. These things are complicated. They take a lot of stakeholders. It's a very large tech stack when you get into the infrastructure from the Unreal all the way down. We have found this actually is kind of a nice way to start doing it, this methodology of we start with a very small prototype. Doing something to the scale of Energizer, we would probably start with off-the-shelf assets, right? We're not going to fully bring in the Revit model, do the full modeling of the park. We're going to go to probably Fab, and we're going to grab something that approximates. And then we're going to do some kind of animation, not even simulated. We're going to keep it small. We're not going to do anything crazy. And from that, we can start showing our stakeholders. We can start getting buy-in on what we're trying to accomplish. Once we've got some buy-in on this prototype, usually it's a couple week, maybe a month kind of process, we'll move to a proof of concept. This is where we actually probably get more realistic. Maybe we get some of the early BIM files. Maybe we start doing some little bit of modeling, keep it a little bit more realistic, but get it to the point where everybody nods their head, okay, now I can really see it. It's not some generic 3D asset. It's not some generic park. It's actually what I'm looking for. From there, we go to proof of value. What we like to say is proof of concept is can you do it? And proof of value is should you do it? Have you actually looked at business models? Have you actually looked at costs? Do you have the right teams? Do you have anybody who knows Unreal Engine on your staff? What does that look like if you don't? How do you hire outside teams? How do you partner? And that goes for the entire experience. Then we'll build out pilots before we finally get into actual production level. So I just want to take a step back and say, we're trying to put all these things together, right? We call it practical digital twins because we want to make it real. Like, what does this actually look like in the real world?
Yeah, and if you don't mind,
there's
a bajillion things you can do with a digital twin, right? So building out a digital twin platform, like Kyle said, we're all going to have different answers of what that means, what we're doing, what features we're causing. I think another reason with this methodology is so important is that you are going to add your digital twin. You're going to add features, you're going to add functionalities, and that is dangerous to a platform when you start doing that, right? So this process is repetitive. When you start to add in a new feature, when you skip and you say, we basically have that foundation because we've done this IoT sensor before, and now we have this one, it's basically the same thing, let's just go in. Pointing back to this and even just cycling back down all the way to the beginning, just be like, no, let's just start from the prototype, do a very basic, element of it, make sure it's operable in Unreal Engine, make sure it works in this way, and then kind of moving around. It saved us a ton of time and just skin and projects that we're at because we're following this process. We found out a lot of stuff.
So infrastructure and scale, these are just things to think about, right? They're the plumbing. As I say, it's the boring part, but it's a critical component. It's making sure that what you're doing, that's why we start small with that 5P process of like, will it work in the real world latency? Going from one user to 22,500 users from an experience is rough. What does that look like from an infrastructure standpoint? It requires a very intentional architecture built. It takes a very intentional backend. It takes very intentional database connectivity, networking, security wrappers. All of these things should be part of your journey, and they should be part of the very beginning of your journey. And it's not just tech, right? All of us, for the most part, are tech, and we're great, right? Business owners don't care, right? They have very specific goals. They have very specific cost metrics that they're shooting for. So that has to be a marriage. There has to be alignment between the business owners and the technology owners. And it's a full stack, as I said. It's, as we're all familiar with, right? It's the suite that lives within Unreal, and all of the ecosystem with Unreal is just that very top layer. You need to make sure you go all the way down. You may need to make sure that you're connecting all the way through data layers, how you're actually connecting. What is the egress and ingress points? How clean is that data? What data are you using it for? It goes into, is it sensor-based? Are we actually going to implement some kind of sensor to it? Are we adding some kind of LiDAR, some kind of scanning, some kind of computer vision to it? How does that data get in? So now you get into buses and messaging. You get into integration, and eventually you're probably going to put some of this stuff in the cloud, and you're probably going to put some of this stuff in the edge, and you're probably going to put some of this compute on-prem. How do all that talk to each other? You cannot remove any one of those for a successful implementation. Every single layer of the cake needs to be addressed. And if you can't see it, it still doesn't work, because eventually it's going to break, and you're not going to know where it broke. So observability, monitoring, governance, they're a lot. They are intentional projects that shouldn't be taken lightly, but I would still argue the value is immense.
Maybe you'll get lucky and get a client like Jeremy that has built this from the ground up very intentionally. Did you want to say anything about this and why you made the decision to do a lot of the homegrown?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I didn't mention is that we don't have just our stadium on our campus. We've actually got 3 training fields. We've got our training facility. We've got our HQ. We've got a retail store. So it's actually, it's an entire district. It's a neighborhood, basically, that is represented here. And we've been able to take advantage of the fact that we're new and that this was a new construction. And we have a full converged network across our entire campus. You can literally walk from the south side to the north side 32 acres away and never lose Wi-Fi connection. That is a base foundation that I can kind of take for granted today, but it's been very intentional because we didn't want to build an alien that landed downtown. We wanted to build something that was part of the city, and we wanted the technology to take a step back but still be extremely forward in our thinking. So we want the control, we want the data, we want to be able to make decisions off of our data, and that's effectively why we've done it this way. We want to kind of control that entire user experience literally from the ground up.
So some of this, we're going to start running up in time, and I want to save time for Q&A, so you can go to the next one.
Sure.
So just some lessons learned, right? Start with an integration-friendly architecture. I keep reiterating, right? Look at the architecture, look at the full stack. Build in observability in mind. You can build the best tech stack in the world. If you can't see it, it's going to break, and it's going to be a really bad day, and it's going to happen on your daughter or son's birthday, and it's just going to ruin your weekend. Make sure you're partnering across all the different teams and organizations, IT, engineering, marketing. Get buy-in from everybody. You want this to be a useful tool across the entire organization, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to build a really cool digital twin for the marketing team. And they're like, this is amazing. I love it. And then somebody from operations is going to see it and they're going to go, oh no, I need that. Well, let's make sure you build it out. And then I think another important piece of this is language, right? Make sure that as an organization, and even internal to the organization, what you call your digital twin. If you ask 10 people what a digital twin is, you're going to get 12 different answers. Everybody in here is going to tell you a digital twin is a different beast, right? Make sure you get alignment internally. Make sure when the marketing team says the digital twin is doing great at XYZ, the engineering team understands what they're saying. It's just critical to make sure you use the same language in this space, because you're going between creative to very hardcore engineering across multiple different disciplines of network and security and data centers and compute and storage and everything else amongst that stack, all the way to business owners, right? So that normalization of language is a key component that we've seen be very successful and also cause a lot of problems. So how do we put it all together?
Yeah, and so I mean, this kind of goes back to some of the stuff that we talked about at the beginning. It's like as you're building the platform, where to start, how to integrate, and I think the putting it together was actually kind of what we were showing. Is now that we have this base, what's next? And so I think this slide is kind of thinking through like what would we use this next thing for, and just kind of brainstorming and like as we integrate things. So the next steps of things that we want to do other than the crowd simulation, like we talked about, and we kind of all have different answers to this, which is why it's a digital twin, right? You can do a lot with it. Is being able to plan ahead. There's some areas that, as we talked about before, are challenging, whether that's for crowd flow or for under usage, or even to expose what types of events and things could take place here. We now have a tool to start doing that, and that's kind of one thing that we're focused on and moving on. Did you want to add other items?
I'll just say too, you know, we're only 3 years old, but our building is always evolving. We want it to be a living, breathing, sort of organic structure. So there's areas that we want to improve, you know, what areas that are exposed to the weather in ways that we didn't expect. So what can we do now with this tool to sort of envision a way to optimize or even completely restructure those areas of the building without having to go to, you know, some expensive, you know, construction related situation.
Yeah. Cool. We have about a little under 3 minutes.
Perfect.
We would love Q&A, and we went ahead and put our LinkedIn QR codes up there in case you want to connect with any of us.
And that is time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys.
Have fun tonight.